That's going to be a game changer for those in the blind community. Part of the augmented reality technology is not just for games. To do augmented reality, the phone has to be aware of its environment and track things. It means that it's also an enormous platform for being able to do assistive technology solution. There's great things available now, but we ain't seen nothing yet.
Welcome back to yet another episode of That Blind Tech Show.
Here's the latest news from Washington Post. You can also tell me to switch to NPR, Fox News, or CNN.
Welcome back to yet another episode of That Blind Tech Show. What if they were giving away free hotel rooms at Trump Casino? You wouldn't want to know about that.
It'd have to be a pretty nice jacuzzi suite. Flat surface and getting little like you were pushing little baby buttons. It didn't feel like an adult typing experience. It was frustrating.
It didn't do it for you.
It didn't do it for me. No, I tried.
And I think that's the Robots of CES.
Woohoo!
Type for me, robot.
I would like to play like a game where I'm like swinging my sword, like whether I have a virtual sword or a real sword, and where I'm like, hacking the heads off of orcs.
Jeez, violent much over there?
Just a little bit.
It's just so funny to be on one right now, and as we're talking here, I'm thinking of the edits that I gotta make. And in real life, it's really funny because I'll be talking to a person, and
Welcome back to yet another episode of That Blind Tech Show. We're in January. Us here in the North and Midwest are freezing our cojones off. Oh. Actually, I think 99% of the country is freezing out there. We've got the heaters blasting as we record this. And of course, I'm going to welcome in the usual gang. We've got Allison, Hartley, Hot 4 Technology on the Twitter. Remember, that's the number 4. And then we got Jeff Thompson, whose last name I remembered this time. And of course, he's known at Jeff on Twitter. And I am Blind Gator on Twitter. So
Known as Jeff.
Known as Jeff, exactly. Not Jeff, but known as Jeff. So how's you guys' New Year starting off?
Well, I'm still right in 2016, so,
You're 2 years behind. Nice.
I'm always 2 years behind.
As long as you're not right in 1916.
Well, I do want to time travel. That would be pretty interesting.
But why 1916? You want to go like to the start of World War I or something?
Maybe the start of the space race. That would be much more interesting.
So you can watch them fake the moon landing on a Hollywood soundstage.
That's right.
No, I do not believe that. How about yourself, Jeff? How'd those holidays go over there?
it's going really good. My folks are up here. They're not on their hiatus to Texas this year for the first time in 17 years. And it's neat because we're having a lot of events and the whole family's involved. It's just nice to have that family feeling around. So, yeah, going real good.
Now, I'm in New York City, and every time I call Jeff to complain about the weather, I start to say, yeah, it's 0 out. And he's like, it's negative 38. So I have to shut up real fast and everything. Some exciting news coming out to start the year out of Facebook, because Facebook's claiming they're going to radically change the way that we see their newsfeed. And all I have to say to Facebook is, you don't even have to do that. Just give it to us in chronological order.
That's literally all I want, is to see it in chronological order. They say that they're going to show posts from friends and family first. I don't know. I don't care because I don't use Facebook all that much. I'm more of a Twitter person. I get on Facebook, like, for example, when we had the fires a couple of months ago in Napa and Sonoma counties, I was on Facebook more there following local media. But after that happened, I can't keep up with like more than one social network. And Facebook is a perpetual pain in the butt in terms of trying to actually see things in chronological order. There's ways to do it, but it really isn't intuitive.
Dearly beloved listeners, we now bring you That Blind Tech Show Demo. Let's go. Let's go into the iPhone.
Facebook.
Single finger double tap on the icon.
Camera button.
Typically, VoiceOver defaults to the upper left-hand corner. That's why it's saying camera right now. A 4-finger tap near the bottom of the screen brings us to the Navigation tab.
Navigation tab 5 of 5.
Notice it says 5 of 5. That means it's the 5th out of 5 tabs at the bottom of the Facebook screen. And since the navigation tab is highlighted, I can do a single finger double tap anywhere on the screen. Let's do it.
Camera button.
Once again, VoiceOver defaults to the upper left-hand corner. Thus, you're hearing the camera button again. From here, doing a single finger swipe left to right will bring you down to
Most recent button.
And here, you will do another single finger double tap. And now, you are on your Facebook page in chronological order. The only thing is, there will be promotions and ads along the way. You may also notice that if someone posted a day before but just made a comment on it today in the recent minutes, that'll be in there too. And here are the first 4 timestamps on my page.
2 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 17 minutes.
Now there's no way of making this stick, so next time you go into your Facebook application, it'll be how they want you to view your page. So if you want to put it in chronological order, just repeat the steps again.
So great. I'm glad that Mark Zuckerberg is maybe going to actually earn his money a little bit and try to make it better. But it's a little too late for me.
Yeah. So Jeff, I'm hearing Facebook plans to show you more positive stories first and less negative. So does that mean more cat and baby photos for you on your Facebook newsfeed?
Cat juggling. Yeah. I just would like to have me be able to decide what I want first and what order I would like them in. I don't want
that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Algorithm to, generate. Family's nice, but really, I go to Facebook to get away from the family sometimes.
That's true. Yeah, you know what's something? This is just going to tell you about my family right here. My sister still has yet to accept my Facebook friend request.
Oh my goodness! Oh.
That's why we just talk on our birthdays. We're not very close, so I'm not even sure she knows I'm blind. But Facebook, as well as notifications, why do they mess it up? It's so basic. I would say 90% of the people out there using Facebook, as well as notifications on the iPhone, just want them in chronological order. I don't know why they have to get their hands in there and mess with it.
Well, I do think that they believe that if you're talking to your friends and your family, you're talking on, they're longer, so that gives them more time that you're logged on, so they can charge more for ads.
Yeah, no. And I think they want people to interact more, and I've kind of gotten sick of all the politics on Facebook and everything. I think
my God,
Twitter,
yes.
and at least on Twitter you could mute, or what's it called you
can do phrase mutes. I have muted every variant of the word
Muffle.
Trump and president and White House and all the various people in the cabinet. I don't want to hear about any of it. So my Twitter is as politics free as it's possible to be. And you could unfollow, if somebody shares a post on Facebook, and you could unfollow and not see posts from that particular thing. Like if they share angry people who don't like Trump, then you can unfollow that without unfollowing your relative. But you can't, I would like to just filter the word Trump out of my Facebook. I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to see him. I just don't want to know. I'd rather not know.
What if they were giving away free hotel rooms at Trump Casino? You wouldn't want to know about that.
It'd have to be a pretty nice jacuzzi suite. But yeah, you cannot do keyword filters on Facebook. So that kind of makes it a deal breaker for me as well.
One last thing I did recently discovered on Facebook. There is a way, if you're friends with a lot of people like I am, and you don't know 60% of your Facebook friends because they're comedians or I don't know who they are. Instead of, just stopping following them, if you go into your settings, there are 2 things you could go into I discovered recently, and both are very accessible on the iPhone app. The first is you could choose up to 20 people to see in your news feed first, which is pretty cool. That I like. The other thing, I noticed this tab called Follow. I guess Facebook automatically follows everybody on your timeline feed. I went through, it took me 3 days, and I unfollowed 70% of the people, and now all of a sudden on my newsfeed, I'm starting to see more stuff from people I know. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's something I never noticed before. So there is a follow tab, and by default, I think it follows. And interestingly enough, it puts in there, I guess if you have any likes or anything, I like Green Day. I was following Green Day. I had no idea. And it puts all your groups in there and stuff. So you could really go in and clean up your newsfeed a lot. I keep wanting to call it a timeline. So go ahead and look. I do a 4-finger double tap to get to the bottom of the screen. It's the last tab on the Facebook app. And then just start flicking to the left until you get to settings. 1-finger double tap on that. And then if you flick over 3 times to the right, you'll get to that follow tab.
Dearly beloved listeners, we now bring you That Blind Tech
Jeff.
Show.
Jeff.
As Bryan described, you go into the Facebook and do a 4-finger tap down near the bottom. That brings you to the Navigation tab.
Navigation, tab, 5 of 5.
We'll do a single finger double tap. Now here too, you can do a 4-finger tap near the bottom and then do a single finger swipe from right to left until you come to Settings.
Settings, button.
Now Bryan described how you could just come to this page and start swiping left, which gets you there too. Since Settings is highlighted, I'm just going to single finger double tap.
Settings, alert.
And I'll single finger swipe left to right.
Account settings, button. Payment settings, button. Newsfeed preferences, button.
And here we are. So we'll do a single finger double tap.
Preferences.
And here's what it has to say.
Take control and customize your newsfeed. Prioritize who to see first. Choose whose posts you don't want to miss. You'll always find them at the top of your newsfeed. Double tap to learn more.
By single finger swiping left to right, you can proceed through the icons of the people in your Facebook.
Blind ability see first, button.
If you have previously done this, it'll indicate each person or icon that has been tagged to see first.
Nancy, button. Elena, see first, button. Lori, see first, button.
As Bryan mentioned, you only are allotted 20, and I'm at that limit. So if I click on Nancy here.
Nancy, button. Alert, you've reached the limit. You've picked the maximum number of people to see first. You'll need to remove someone before you can add Nancy. Okay, button.
So there you have that. We're done here. Let's back out, and let's go check out the followers.
Done, button. Preferences. Take control and customize your newsfeed. Prioritize who to see first. Unfollow people to hide their posts.
And that's what we're looking for, but let's see what else is down here. I'll just swipe a couple more times.
Reconnect with people you unfollowed. Discover pages that match your interests.
Okay, let's go back to unfollow people to hide their posts.
Unfollow people to hide their posts.
And a single finger double tap.
Unfollow people to hide their posts. Tap to choose whose posts you want to stop seeing in your newsfeed. Only you will know. Double tap to learn more.
And I'll just keep swiping from left to right and go right down into the names and icons.
iOS for the blind 11 stories, button. Blind pen pal 7 stories. Nick D'Ambrosio, button.
Now if I tap on someone to unfollow,
Nick D'Ambrosio unfollowed.
I can then tap again and I will be following them.
Nick D'Ambrosio unfollowed, button.
Sorry about that, Nick. But with a single finger double tap, Nick is back.
Nick D'Ambrosio, button.
And if you follow a lot of people, a lot of groups, there's different ways to sort it right here.
Sort, button. Filter by. Selected, all, button. Friends only, button. Pages only, button. People you see the most, button. A to Z, button.
So thank you, Bryan, for bringing that to our attention. Different ways to rearrange your timeline. Create the experience that you want.
So that's something that's pretty cool.
Although the app could change, tomorrow, so
Yeah.
your mileage may vary a little bit there.
Jeff put a disclaimer in here that this recording was done as of this date and this minute, and there could be a Facebook update. I know we've talked before. I love me my described video. I really won't watch anything without it anymore. There's a handful of shows that I'm grandfathered into, like The Blacklist, which doesn't have it. And it's something interesting? You hear about all these networks complaining that their ratings are down for shows. I almost feel like starting a Twitter campaign to say, well, maybe if you had this show with described video, the blindness community would actually watch.
With booster ratings, yeah.
Exactly. That's something I've yet to start. But, between Netflix and Amazon and Blind Mice Smart, just tons of described video choices out there. But one thing that kind of shocked me, and I've yet to see this series, and I do not like, Netflix, in my opinion, Netflix does the best job of described video of any of the companies out there. Just a superb job. All of their original content has described video, but they recently came out with a show with described video, and instead of using a real person to narrate or describe it, they used a text-to-speech voice engine.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really have a problem with it as long as it's accurate. I'm listening to the voice of the describer to know what happened. And I've heard good describers and I've heard bad describers, but I'm there more to hear what's going on, not to really judge the voice of the person who's telling me. So I'd be okay with the text to speech doing that. What it would mean, I think, is that we would gain access more quickly to more audio described content because you're not having to wait for a person to sit in a studio and record everything.
Yeah, and the show is Shot in the Dark, I believe it's called, on Netflix. I meant to check it out before to see the quality. I just haven't seen it yet. Jeff, what are your thoughts about TTS speech engine?
Jeff scratches his head, moves closer to the microphone. I think it's fine. Like Allison said, if the quality's there, it's something that I would pick up without thinking about because I'm so used to it. But someone that is in the room listening, like the first time they hear Jaws or their voiceover, they're all like, what? You can understand that? It's so fast and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it all depends.
Bryan Fischler. retire. The first time I heard Jaws, I wanted to kill myself. But that's kind of like a daily occurrence, although I'm not serious about that. Suicide rates are high enough. If I made it through Jamaica, Queens in 3.5 years, we know I'm not suicidal. So. And I don't think Describe Video would ever make me kill myself. But hey, you never know. It's 2018, right, Allison?
Not 2016, are you sure?
Jeff and I did a breakaway episode about the Describe Video, the Amazon Prime app. So I finally sat down to watch Bosch with Describe Video on my Apple TV. And sure enough, the Describe Video track does no longer work on Amazon and the Apple TV. Yet it still works on the iPhone.
That's so weird.
Well, it worked on season 3. It didn't work on 1 and 2.
Which, when you haven't seen 1 and 2, is a problem.
Yeah.
You're supposed to watch them in that order, though, Bryan.
Not 3, 2, 1, right?
Unless you're launching a rocket or faking you're launching a rocket to go to the moon, supposedly.
I have spoken to Amazon, and it's so funny with these companies when you call them up. You know, first off, they ran a bunch of tests, and sure enough, they were able to replicate the issue. But then they had to kick it up to engineering, and at first engineering couldn't replicate the problem. Then they could. Then they thought the problem was just in New York and New Jersey. And I'm like, how in the world would a Describe Video
crazy
not being patched? So Amazon actually called me back, and I unfortunately actually had, a life and had to leave, and they were shocked that I had to leave. So, they expect you to just be sitting there waiting for their call 5 days later. I am impressed that Amazon is working on this. They are aware of the issue. They have admitted there is a problem. And I don't know. They're supposed to call me back, I think, on Sunday or Monday, probably right in the middle of one of the football games. But
of course.
Yeah. So, and Jeff, you were able to recreate this problem on your Apple TV as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously not just a New York and New Jersey issue, but I don't know. It's the strangest thing, the fact that it works on the iPhone, yet it does not seem to work on the Apple TV.
Huh.
Well, there you go. All the money in the world, and you still can't do it right.
Jeff Bezos has to invest some of his considerable capital into fixing it.
Well, I am actually working on hacking Jeff Bezos' financial accounts because.
Oh, there you go. Hey,
I figure if I steal
You
500
heard it here
million,
first, folks.
Yes.
I figure if I steal 500 million, he won't even notice it. Great news coming out of Skype. How much the voiceover community hates the new Skype. I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, it's just not a pleasant experience. And I do have to give Microsoft credit. Microsoft has come out. They have put a note on the Skype website that they do realize there is some issues with voiceover in the new Skype, and they are working to fix those issues. And I give them a lot of credit because a lot of times stuff like this would not let you roll back to the old version. They have 5 steps up there. It took me literally 4 minutes to roll back to the old version of Skype, and everything's working perfectly again as I'm running the old version of Skype on the Mac. Jeff, what are your thoughts about this whole process?
I'm just shocked that it came out of Microsoft the way it is. I wish they would have just waited till they actually ran it through the rigors of testing with maybe a beta group, or, they got so many people over there, they've done so well. And yet, I can use it. I've managed to get it to work. However, trying to get a friend of mine or just an average person to do it, you got to delete your old one, download a new one, move it into your applications folder, reinstall, and for some people it may be a lot of work.
They give you partial instructions. They left out a few steps, unfortunately.
Well, it's enough to get going.
Yeah, I just don't understand though. I mean, the Microsoft accessibility team is so on it in terms of basically literally everything else, in terms of seeing AI, in terms of Office updates. And I realize that there has to sometimes be some regression, but this was more than regression. This was just a complete pile. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get how things went so wrong.
Yeah, and they do also list, if you do want to stick with the new Skype, they do list a lot of the hotkeys. I mean, but there were some bizarre combinations. They list them for Windows as well as the Mac. I, for about 2 seconds, was trying to learn them, and then I said, you know what? I'm going back to the old Skype. And the funny thing is, I was not a big fan of the old Skype, but after using the new Skype, I love the old Skype.
Yeah.
So, it's just nice for the contextual, the VO Shift M to work. And when you VO arrow around, everything works perfectly. Those of you that might make use of Call Recorder, it works again. So, yeah, the new Skype, the only thing that it seems to work with VoiceOver is if you want to choose light or dark mode.
Gosh.
Yeah, because it's working all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, as Jeff is known to say, it's Apple. It just works.
Yeah, that was last year. Come on, guys.
Oh,
That was last year.
okay.
It's 2018 now. So.
Yeah, it's Apple. It's just broken.
That's right.
It's Apple. We don't believe in quality control.
Not anymore.
When that HomePod comes out, you guys wait.
Yeah, well, I'll believe that when I see it. I've got my Sonos. I don't know if I'm going to bother, honestly.
Ooh, breaking news. I think if we go back to an older podcast, we have Allison saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the HomePods." But,
Yeah, I thought that. And I don't know if that was prior to me getting my Sonos One speakers, but I could do everything with these speakers right here short of AirPlay, and supposedly AirPlay support is coming too. So what do I need to spend $700 on 2 HomePods for? I don't know. I mean, they will have to do everything and cook me dinner if I'm going to.
And Siri would have to be improved.
Siri would not have to suck, yeah.
I think we actually had a Skype lag there, and it sounded like you said sneakers, and I'm like thinking, ooh, Sonos sneakers. I'm like, wow, they can really go wherever I go.
That would be hella cool.
There you go.
Along to your music, yeah.
What I'm looking forward to for 2018, Sonos sneakers.
Walk in these shoes.
Forget about the HomePod, Apple.
I mean, that brings a whole new meaning to Walkman. You know,
Walkman. The 21st century, but we could bring in the new Walkman.
Yeah, Sonos sneakers, Walkman. Yeah.
Look at that! You even have their tagline advertised.
Yeah. Hire me.
I can hear it now. Oh, clunk, 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 clunk.
You probably get a good
kind of
bass.
boxy.
Yeah.
We finally came up with a more expensive pair of sneakers than the Air Jordans.
Well, it is kind of interesting because you got Siri and you got the HomePod that's not here. And rumor has it that they wanted to improve Siri before they came out, or they wanted to make it more than just a home speaker. And now if you say, "Hey, S lady," and say, "Play the news," they're starting to give you options if you want NPR or if you want the Washington Post. You got like 4 choices. Play the news.
Here's the latest news from Washington Post. You can also tell me to switch to NPR, Fox News, or CNN.
Good morning. I'm James Holman from the Washington Post, and this is the Daily 202 for Friday, January 19th.
Switch to NPR.
Now playing the station NPR News, AZPM 89.1.
That's
Yeah,
a tough
that, John Legend.
That's a tough warm-up act.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Not the used car dealer John Legend, but the
Switch to CNN.
Switching my news sources to CNN.
Hi, I'm Victor Blackwell, and this is your CNN Morning News Update for Saturday, January 20th.
So it looks like they're preparing Siri to be ready for the HomePod, just to be all that.
She's still dumber than a box of rocks, but
Well, there's been a lot of talk in the tech news, with the HomePods coming out, will Siri be getting smarter? And my only response is it can't be getting any dumber.
right.
So I'm excited. I have zero plans to get the HomePods unless they release them in a sneaker version. So other than that, I would really love to see a big update to Siri, because Siri just seems to continually be going downhill and everything, and that'd be nice. So that's definitely something.
She's like the little brother that's tagging along behind the little sister. Excuse me, it's tagging, or brother, depending on what gender you have here for her. It's tagging along the cool older kids that are Google Assistant and A lady. It's embarrassing.
I got all 3 here. I'd like to inbreed these things because Google talks so well.
Yes,
it does. It just really talks, and it actually talks intelligently to you. Like, hey, I could carry this conversation on for a while. Like Bryan says, it can't get any worse, can it?
Nope.
So Jeff, your slogan for 2018 is "Inbreeding is good."
You got to look forward to something.
From a technological standpoint.
Yeah, but if you could merge these things together, have your Amazon, your Google, and your Siri all on one device. And there is a fundraiser right now for this product called Genie. I don't think it's going to take off, but it's kind of cool.
What?
Imagine the power of Amazon Alexa plus OK Google in a single portable device. Now, imagine that same device can read and respond to notifications and answer incoming calls. Introducing the Genie, the first device that makes Alexa practical in your car and outdoors. It can also be used with Siri for iPhone users.
Alexa, set home temperature to 72 degrees.
Setting home temperature to 72 degrees.
Hello, Jeannie.
Text from John. Looking forward to tonight. See you soon.
The PCB boards are ready, but we need to finish packaging and plastic tooling. We think the portability, form factor, and cross-platform compatibility will make Genie a must-have device for 2017 and beyond. Pre-order your Genie now, only on Indiegogo.
It's an Indiegogo, and it's only at 3% of its funding, so I'm not sure if this will ever come out. To me, it's a neat concept.
Does it come in a pair of sneakers?
I don't know.
Would the HomePod sneakers be the home peds? The home peds, yeah.
The home chucks.
As somebody who personally hates using his lightning pods that go to the phone that's in my top pocket, I would really hate that cable that would plug into the sneakers and run off my ear.
Well, you'd be tripping over it. Nash would be tripping over it.
Okay, so we've yet to perfect the sneakers. Well, we're working.
Yeah, they have to be wireless. Yeah.
But prior to this episode, we were all Mac users, but somebody here has gone to the dark side.
Dark side, my goodness.
Actually, I can't say that anymore because the dark side is closing the gap pretty good, and I kind of always liked Darth Vader. So, yeah, no, Microsoft has made amazing strides with Narrator. Allison, why don't you tell us why you were jumping into the PC world again?
Yeah, so I have gone back to Windows, at least for the time being, for several reasons. I do most of my home computing now on my iPhone. I would say 95 to 99% of everything that I do for home is done on the iPhone. I do mainly my podcast recording and editing I did that mainly on my Mac until recently. I had a late 2017 13-inch MacBook Pro, and I hated it. I didn't mind the touch bar. Actually, the touch bar was the least of my issues. I found that worked pretty well, because if you were used to the concept of the iPhone, then the touch bar was okay. But I hated the new keyboard. It was flat. It did not travel well, and I couldn't get used to it typing long documents on that keyboard.
Now, just that new keyboard, was that the one with the arrow keys that were kind of two arrow keys with the short little... the Magic Keyboard?
Yeah, but that wasn't even so much the issue for me. I was okay with the arrow keys. It was more the overall travel of the keys. It did not feel like you were clicking keys. It felt like you were kind of like pounding on this flat surface and getting little like you were pushing little baby buttons. It didn't feel like an adult typing experience. It was really frustrating.
It didn't do it for you.
It didn't do it for me. No, I tried. And I also found that I never had any performance issues with the computer, but I also started to feel kind of philosophically that 16 gigabytes of RAM, that's not a professional level computer. It's kind of a joke. And so what I decided to do, I do want to eventually get back into the Mac side of things, but I sold my MacBook Pro for now, got a Windows desktop that I'm using that we had that's pretty powerful, more powerful than my Mac. And my phone is my laptop, so I've got that all taken care of. And then I want to see if perhaps the Mac Pro, the trash can line, they call it, at least unofficially, is renewed, because it hasn't been updated in about 5 years. Now, they just came out with the iMac Pro. I don't need an iMac. I don't need the screen. I find that would just be a pretty big waste of space for me. So either maybe the new Mac Pro or a new Mac Mini if they ever renew that. And if they don't, Windows 10 is really good. And the types of things that I would like to do on an actual computer, there's really no difference for me between Mac and Windows. And also, I use Windows all day at work. So it's better continuity to come home and use it for certain things here at home as well.
Now, using straight Narrator or using JAWS?
Oh, gosh, no. I mean, Narrator's quite good. Don't get me wrong. It's gotten pretty awesome. But I'm using JAWS. I've had a JAWS license for 17 years. I've dabbled.
How many upgrades have you paid for?
Oh Christ, so many.
Well, what's really nice is if you go to a convention like a National Federation of the Blind or an ACB convention, you can upgrade for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I've never taken advantage of that because I haven't been to a convention since like 2003. Also, I find especially with the new home use upgrade programs, it's pretty cheap anyway. So I just kind of grit my teeth and pay it.
I'm going to break news here. I'm a JAWS virgin.
Oh, well.
I've never used JAWS.
Oh, we'll have to break you in someday.
Let me know how that goes.
Now that I'm 40, it's probably about time.
Yeah.
Preparing to launch.
It was a funny movie. But now, while you're using your iPhone as a laptop, are you using a Bluetooth keyboard with it?
Sometimes I'm using a lot of braille screen input and a lot of dictation, as much as it frustrates me. I'm fairly adept at typing on the touchscreen keyboard itself, the QWERTY style. I don't always remember to have a Bluetooth keyboard around. I have one in my purse, so if I'm out and about, but then I have to remember to take it out and pair it usually because.
And question for you: when you're typing on the iPhone screen, do you type with your thumbs or your index finger?
I type with one index finger. And then
Okay.
obviously with braille screen input, I turn the phone on its side and I can go pretty fast. That has in many ways kind of eliminated my need for a Bluetooth keyboard, because any edit field basically where I would usually get a Bluetooth keyboard to write out something longer, I can go just as quickly in braille screen input.
Okay, that's the
I love
difference.
it.
I'm not good with braille, so
Yeah.
I am a big believer in the Bluetooth. I have what I have here, although I messed up the O key. So, what could it be, the Q or the X? So the O key sticks some of the time, so I'm going to have to get another keyboard. But the keyboard I've been using primarily is the Logitech K780, which is a fantastic keyboard. It's 90% fantastic. You can connect to 3 devices. The one thing I hate as a Mac user, from left to right on the bottom, it goes Control FN Option. So I had to kind of program myself to use 1 and 3 instead of the 2 keys. So that's the one reason. Although it's now on sale for $66, and the other keyboards I'm looking at are much more expensive. I was always a fan of the Mac Ally series. I used to have one that could connect to 5 devices, but for some reason they stopped manufacturing that. How about yourself, Jeff? I know you have multiple Bluetooth keyboards there in the house. What are you using these days?
Oh, I do have a few of them, and I'm glad you're getting yours fixed, because I was going to say on your email, say Dear Jeff, because Hell Jeff doesn't work too well. It just sets the wrong tone.
That's dictation, Jeff.
I got the Logitech K480. That's one of them. It's kind of a beast, though. I mean, it's nothing I want to carry around because it is kind of bulky, but it is nice because you do have a slot. If you have an iPad, you can put it up there. Like, it's useful. You can switch 1, 2, or 3 different spots with it. I also have the Apple keyboard, the Bluetooth. Of course, one's for the Mac and one's for out and about, and I usually keep that out in the kitchen. But the only thing I don't like about it, that is if someone bumps it, I'm connected. And it just, there's so many times I go to type and I'm like, oh, so I got to go disconnect, blah, blah, blah. Then I have a Logitech Keys to Go, and that's a skinny little bugger, but it's like you're not really pressing the keys, like Allison was talking about the thing.
Yeah.
However,
that's a problem with the folding keyboards too, yeah.
However, you don't even notice it's in your backpack, and if you need it, there it is. So that's where I keep that one. It's ready to go, and it doesn't take batteries. You can charge it up with a micro USB charger. Then there's a Omaton.
Never heard of that one.
Oh, me neither.
Omaton, Omaton. I got one as a gift, and I looked it up at $15, and it's a designer plastic, but it's just like the Apple keyboard, but it has an on and off switch, and it takes batteries. And believe it or not, that one works pretty good. So there's a lot of choices out there. I know Anker makes some very inexpensive ones.
The Amazon Basics is good. The Logitech K811 is another good one, and they both have on-off switches.
Yeah, a lot of things. I know people out there, especially in our community, like to use a Bluetooth keyboard. There's a lot of things you have to take into consideration, when you're getting them. And, one is, do you want to travel with it? That's obviously the size. You want something compact. Another is, do you want to connect via Bluetooth or USB? I have noticed another problem with this Logitech keyboard. Ever since I upgraded to High Sierra, every time I restart my computer, I'm one of those people that keeps it on all the time. Whenever I restart it, the Bluetooth keyboard won't work. I've got to go get a USB keyboard and plug it in. I don't know if that's a specific me problem or High Sierra. So you do want to keep in mind, if you do go straight Bluetooth, you might want to keep a USB keyboard just around somewhere, just in case your Bluetooth connectivity fails, like mine seems to constantly do.
Another keyboard that I have that can be made to work on both Mac and Windows is a Logitech. I think it's either a K120 or K150. It's a wireless keyboard, and it has like a little wireless dongle that you plug in to a USB port, and you can map it, so that the keys work for Mac as well, with a little bit of thinking about in the and the system preferences. But it works really nice on Mac and Windows. Now you are limited to about a 30-foot range, something like that. It's similar to Bluetooth, but I like it because it's a full desktop keyboard, so you don't want to travel with it probably. But it's nice for being at home because you can just have that on your lap and use it with whatever device you want. Now, there's no magic switching, so you have to transfer the dongle if you want to go between devices, and it doesn't work with the portable devices, but for a computer, it's lovely. And it's only about $25.
That's also something you want to keep in mind is multi-device connectivity. That's something is a must-have for me because I like to be sitting here typing on the computer, and then if I have to respond to something on the phone and it's more than a few words, I like to be able to just switch with my F1 to F2. The Logitech K780 does that. And a must-have for me as a Mac user, I must have a number pad on my desktop keyboard and everything, which I guess I use to enter numbers on the iPhone, for passwords. But, I have a lot of shortcut keys on the Mac that I've programmed into that and everything. There is an awful lot you want to take into consideration. I know Logitech, actually, one of the keyboards I had for a while, it did not connect to multiple devices. It did not have a number pad. I had the Logitech solar-powered keyboard, which always blew me away because it was always fully charged, and I never turned the lights on or stuck it out the window. So I was wondering where it was getting that solar charge from.
I have one of those.
Some of these keyboards nowadays that are, I guess they're more USB keyboards. They have to be. They have individual USB slots on them. So you could charge a iPhone or something directly into the keyboard. Now, it won't. Your printers that need a lot of power or something or scanners won't work in those USB slots, but anything that only needs a little bit of, I guess, a boost will work with those. So that's another thing you want to consider is do you need extra USB slots? And I know Mac Alley has a series of keyboards that they're still selling that have those USB slots. There's not one product as blind users. I mean, the keyboard, it's not going away. It's still the best way to input information, I think.
I have one of those Apple USB full-size mega keyboards. It's really nice. The drawback is the function key. They took it and moved it from the bottom left with those, the command option control and moved it up to the upper right. And when you're trying to do one of those acrobatic moves like control, option, command, shift, and function and all that stuff, it's just, it's too awkward. So I gave it a try for 3 days and then I just went away from it.
Yeah, there is one thing that eventually could kill the keyboard. And I think that's the Robots of CES. Type for me, robot.
That's dictation.
Oh, that's still dictation. Yeah, I guess you're. Well, no, if the robot's sitting at your keyboard typing for you, it's key dick or dick key. Is that improper?
Yes, but leave it in.
Yeah. It was DIC. That's what I was spelling. DICKUI. That's not dirty. So that's the way you do things with your robot. But did you see this? I could not believe when reading about CES, which I still want to call CSE, the amount of companies producing robots. And I was just happy to see no killer cyborgs. But
well, not yet.
Not yet, no. No, there was one company who won't produce their first robot for another 10 years. They may be the kill. They're called CNET. Was that the one from Terminator? No, Skynet. They're called Skynet. They've got a really human-like cyborg. It'll be here in about 10 years. Funny is it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But
I'll make sure I pick one up in my autonomous car.
That's true. I'll probably have those by then. I mean, can you imagine having a specific robot that just goes to the refrigerator that's trained to get you a beer?
That would be kind of amazing.
What kind of trailer would you have to live in to have a robot that does that?
I want one that uncorks a wine bottle. That would be really nice.
That was the other thing about CES that blew me away was all the technology. I didn't include that in the show notes. All the wine fridge technology that's coming out there that would scan the lid. I'm not a wine drinker, but they're really doing some pretty amazing stuff where it'll tell you when the wine's getting bad, how to preserve it. And it was pretty remarkable, some of the stuff. And they were affordable if you're a wine drinker. They're coming out, they were in the $5.50 range, which, heck, it's cheaper than Jaws.
True. I mean, but for me, the wine never lasts long enough for it to go bad. So.
I still get my wine in a box.
Yeah, I don't have to store mine sideways to make sure the cork doesn't dry out.
I really do not drink wine out of a box, but when I picture boxed wine, I kind of picture it in like a Chinese takeout container.
What it is it's actually like, because we used to get it all the time in college, and what it is it's actually like, it almost looks like a big huge plastic sort of ketchup bag type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it has this little spigot nozzle thing on the end, and you put it in the box, and then you line it up so that the spigot lines up with this hole in the box, and then you just twist it, and you put what we would always use big coffee mugs because we were real classy. You just put your coffee mug underneath, turn it, fill up your coffee mug, and then turn it, and it'll turn off. It's almost like having it on tap. It was pretty epic, actually.
Yeah, if you're gonna order 12 dozen goldfish, it comes in a box with a plastic bag inside. And
Jeff, did you order 12 dozen goldfish at one time? Wouldn't 12 dozen be 144 goldfish?
144 goldfish. Holy smoke!
Would that be a gross?
It might be.
A gross amount of goldfish. I used to have fish that ate goldfish, so it was always a fun thing to watch them disappear sometimes.
Oh,
back in the day.
Oh, that's terrible.
But it was how you described too, because it sounded like breaking a piece of celery. It just
Oh
go like
God.
that.
Oh, I don't like this turn of events at all.
If I can't get sneakers with speakers, that'd be kind of cool to have like an aquarium, like in the sneakers where the goldfish are swimming around. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know what's wrong with me in sneakers. First off, I refuse to pay more than $50 for a pair of sneakers. So all these sneakers we're talking about, I wouldn't be able to
Yeah, they're
afford.
way beyond your price range.
Yeah, no. So
in Napa, California, where you live, is box wine frowned upon?
I have not been brave enough to buy boxed wine in Napa, California. But yes, I imagine it would be rather frowned upon.
I would love to go to like the most stuck-up winery out there and say, "Excuse me, can I get this in a box?"
I think I would get stoned to death, and not like in the cool legal marijuana sense, but in the actual like old
biblical term. Yeah.
Yes, in the biblical sense.
So getting back to robots, I was just absolutely shocked. It just seemed like every company was producing a brand of robots and everything, whether it be a maid robot. They were talking about robots that are going to be working on construction sites, lifting heavy machinery that people couldn't lift. It was pretty remarkable. I was really blown away. We'll put this article in the show notes. And
it's called a crane. I think so.
Jeff, that's so like 2017, man. Get with the times.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, you see stuff on there. You even see stuff that came out a year ago, but they're still talking about it's coming out. So, by 2020, you'll see some of this stuff.
Maybe, and by then it'll be old.
Yeah, old thought bubbles.
The other thing that it seems like every company is manufacturing one of are glasses. It's interesting because Apple supposedly has taken out a lot of patents for augmented reality glasses. I'm not sure, as of yet, there's really any use for the blind community because Pokemon Go refuses to include us. But I don't know. Maybe in a few years, this could be something that companies could develop where it might be useful to us.
I would like to play like a game where I am actually like almost like the Wii, but where I'm like swinging my sword. Like whether I have a virtual sword or a real sword, and where I'm like, hacking the heads off of orcs. And
Geez, violent much over there?
Just a little bit. Hang on just 1 second, guys. Hang on. What happened? Did you eat too fast? Did he cough? But he didn't throw up? Okay.
And for all you listeners, that's Allison comforting Bryan.
Oh, you really are a funny guy.
I was interviewing Brett Hawley. He was with the Woodworkers for the Blind out in Napa. And we were up on Veeder Mountain there. And he worked for Apple for 19 years.
Wow.
He was telling me that he's excited about augmented reality coming about because we're going to benefit from all this technology.
Frankly, the other thing is the technology that's, available now is just incredible. There's obviously the smartphones, there's lots of apps and things like that that can help. There's new technologies coming like Ira, which is an assistance tool. There's other things that seem to be on the horizon. Frankly, I suspect that we're going to see some things coming out of the next generation phones and this augmented reality technology that's part of the next generation of the iOS, Apple OS operating systems. I personally believe that's going to be a game changer for those in the blind community, because part of the augmented reality technology is not just for games, but to do augmented reality, the phone has to be aware of its environment. And the fact that it can do that and track things means that it's also an enormous platform for being able to do, assistive, technology solutions. So I think there's great things available now, but we ain't seen nothing yet.
It seems like over the years when we had the first talking watch, from Radio Shack or something like that, and the rooster crowing, it seems like the sighted people would look at us like, that thing's talking, can you shut it up or something? And nowadays, it's taken a twist that they love all this stuff.
Everybody wants things to talk, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like where we're headed.
I was at the bank the other day, and the woman at the bank was kind enough to print out a UPS label for me, and for some reason, I went to hit reply and it accidentally hit delete. I don't know why that happened. So I had to flick through like 15, and I did it real fast. And the woman what did you just do? She was like blown away. As I'm jumping from mailbox to mailbox, finding it and forwarding because it went into the trash folder. And people who have never seen blind people using the iPhone with voiceover, it's quite shocking to them. I mean, it really is. They're like, oh, we just thought you sat at home in the dark and knitted.
Wow.
What's wrong with that, Brian?
I pricked my fingers.
With knitting needles?
No.
You are a klutz.
Body part.
Body knitting.
Well.
I've heard whispers out there that seeing AI may eventually come to glasses. It just seems wearables are the wave of the future. And it just seems, I've heard rumors about that. I've heard rumors about Amazon and A-Lady coming in glasses, Google Assistant coming in glass. And it's funny because when I was a kid, we used to beat up everybody with glasses, but now everybody wants glasses.
Now everybody wants it. Well, the initial prototype video for seeing AI, Saqib had on a pair of glasses.
Oh,
so
cool.
That was how it was initially envisioned.
And I'm getting a pair of glasses where I'll be able to control my robot.
Well, I don't think it's so far-fetched for anybody. I mean, you got Be My Eyes, which I just used the other day, and within a minute, I turned my 10 ounces down to 8 ounces on my Keurig, and it was...
Hey, there you go.
Well, they just had the new update, and I just said, I'm going to try it, and I kind of knew how to do it, but I just wanted to put it through the rigors, So I just tapped it, and within about 10 seconds, maybe 12 seconds, someone was there. Hey, what do you need? And bang. And they recognized the Keurig machine. It was like universal, I guess. I turned it down from 10 to 8, and that was cool. And it was over within a minute, and I thought, wow, I didn't have to hook up anything, charge anything, just my phone. So
you didn't need a Wi-Fi to connect to them?
No, I was already connected, so...
It's just an app on your phone with whatever your Wi-Fi is, and it's free.
Where this is going in 5 years from now, who knows where the glasses will... Maybe it's just something that's on the brim of your hat, or it's a lapel pen, or I don't know. I don't know where it's all going to go.
Or an implant in your brain. I would be okay with that.
I would be okay with one of those fake flowers where you say, hey, smell this, and you squirt the water. Instead, you'll have a camera in it, and I could connect to Be My Eyes, and people will be like, wow, I thought you were going to squirt me with water.
How about a new eye? Just a new eye.
How about eyes that work?
How about an eye that's literally in the back of your head? Because that would be
hindsight,
creepy and weird. Yes, it's 20.
How about one giant Igor eye they stick in the middle of your forehead that actually works, and it'd just be very weird.
Hey, if it worked, I would totally make that fashion statement.
Yeah. Just look into the big eye.
My eye is up here.
What do you think you're looking at? Now, one of the things that shocked me about CES, there I went, I almost said CSI. One of the things that shocked me about it, they thought a lot of companies there were waiting on Apple to innovate before they brought new products. I didn't realize it was Apple's sole responsibility to innovate for other companies to get off their ass.
I'm not sure, and I don't know that Apple is innovating that much. I mean, yeah, the iPhone 10 is pretty revolutionary, but...
Apple was never really known as an innovator. They were known as taking other people's products and making them better.
They were the Sherlockers, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you define Sherlocking? That's been used a lot. Just some people have asked me.
So when somebody gets Sherlock, they take their idea or their app or their concept and put it into their software. So, for example, when Apple made improvements to Spotlight, they Sherlocked Alfred and Launch Bar and pieces of software like that. Now, arguably, those pieces of software still can do things that Spotlight cannot, so there's still a place. But that's what the concept of Sherlocking is. But in terms of hardware, they take what the other companies are doing and make it better. But yeah, that's not innovating. That's exovating.
Kind of like when they put in the processor for gamers and stuff to improve upon, or their augmented reality platform that they're built into. Was it the 10 that it's built into for their developers? Maybe
and Face ID, I guess, but then they didn't invent that either. They didn't
invent fingerprint recognition either.
No, other companies have had not as good fingerprint and face recognition before Apple.
I think one of the things is, I mean, how many people have an iOS device out there in the world? If you can develop something that all of them take up and you get $1 a piece, wow.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Because there's like 1 billion of them out there now.
Maybe on the next show we could get the president on the phone to find out how many people in the whole countries have an iOS device.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you'll have to strike that one.
I thought we put a filter on that one, that word.
Yeah.
Hold on here.
Why was that not muffled?
I actually filtered the word hole from my timeline.
And now to everybody's favorite topic. And when I say everybody, I mean me. Let's see Bryan off now. It's been a while since we've had one of these. We had a good run without it. Remember, I think it was last episode when I was talking about how much I love my new AirPods? Well, I no longer have AirPods.
Oh, no. What happened?
Let's just say I took a 8-minute cab ride that cost me $150.
Oh, my God.
To make a long story short, it was a lift that they sent me, and I got into the lift. I took an AirPod out of the case, so I knew I had them with me. And when I got to my destination, it was one of these taxi drivers that, God forbid you have a dog in there, he had to get out and clean the whole back seat. Okay. Instead of putting my AirPods in my pant pocket, I must have put them in my jacket pocket. So I get out, and I'm looking for the case. And because it's 10 degrees here, I have multiple layers on and lots of pockets. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the split second I realized they must have fallen in the back of the cab was when he drove off.
Oh.
Well, I seem to have I had, where my location, I was able to get a sighted person to come out and look all over the ground. They were not there. And they couldn't have been buried. I'm convinced that when he was cleaning them out, he saw the AirPods and said, ooh, I seem to have gotten the one because I got his ID through Accessoride. And it's been 6 days now. And Lyft has not been able to get this driver on the phone. And the taxi drivers in New York are constantly talking on the phone. So I will never personally use Lyft ever again. I mean, because...
Yeah, that's shady.
Maybe there's a 10% chance the next person in there saw them, but odds are this guy was cleaning the cab out for a good 3 minutes, and he saw them, scooped them up, and the fact that they can't get this driver on the phone tells me he knows what he did. And so on Monday, I'm going to just file the biggest complaint I can because I have this driver's supposedly ID number and everything.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I was ever in a Lyft, and it'll be the last time. I mean, Accessoride sent the Lyft, but yeah, I guess I will be an Uber user for life and everything. And I guess this is a good thing is, in my distraught and everything, my mom pointed out that I do have a birthday coming up, and if I really love these AirPods, we normally don't do big gifts like that, but she would re-get me the AirPods, and if I do re-get the AirPods, I'll actually have 2 right ear AirPods, which is the only ear I use. So if I do lose one of them, hey, at least I've got another one. So I have one AirPod that's sitting in my desk drawer with no way to...
It does seem like a natural habitat to get something lifted in, though, from Lyft.
Lyft, yeah.
Well, the best was when I posted on Facebook that I go, how odd, I got the one idiot cab driver that won't answer his phone. And a good friend of mine wrote a comment, and he says, that's because he's too busy listening to his new AirPods.
Pod.
This new AirPod.
Pod, exactly. The AirPods were fun while they lasted, and I think I'll probably say to Mom, yeah, why not? Hey, yeah, I never know what I want for my birthday. I know what I want this year. And the AirPod charging. By the way, if you're listening to this show and you're out there and you only have a left AirPod and the AirPod case and you want to get rid of it, please email us into thatblindtechshow@gmail.com and tell us how much you want for it, or tweet us in at That Blind Tech Show. Are we That Blind Tech Show? No.
No,
we're
but just blind.
At
Just
Blind Tech Show. Just Blind Tech Show on Twitter. As we're wrapping up here, so what do you got coming up, Allison?
Well, let's see. I am going to be starting to host the iCast over on the iAccessibility Network. I am doing a podcast with my friend Mika that we're doing just on our own.
No way. Mika, does she live on the second floor? Or was that Nico? I don't know.
Is it like
tweet us in. Let us know. Who lived on the second floor in that song?
But yeah, we're doing the Glomcast, where we talk mainly about books, mainly about romance novels, and some fantasy.
Stand for gorgeous ladies.
So Glom is when you kind of like binge on something. So when I sat on the couch for 10 hours and watched all season 2 of The Crown, or when I sat over on New Year's weekend and watched all 4 seasons of Black Mirror, which was probably the creepiest and best show and most disturbing show I've ever watched. That's glomming.
That's on my list. I'm getting through Narcos now. I'm on the 7th season of the first season of Narcos on Netflix. It's very good. And
I'm halfway through season 2. I kind of took a break from it because it was getting a little intense. But yeah, I need to go back to it.
Yes, not for children. Not for children.
Not in the least.
What about yourself, Jeff? What do you got coming up? What are you watching? What are you reading?
Well, actually, I've been editing a multitude of podcasts, and it's just so funny to be on one right now. And as we're talking here, I'm thinking of the edits that I got to make. And, in real life, it's really funny because I'll be talking to a person and they'll have before they say a word, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to edit that, But it's kind of funny.
I kind of hate that. Yeah.
I hate people that say constantly.
Well, you're supposed to be paying attention to the person, but when you hear something like that, it just triggers something inside me. It's kind of funny.
Are you talking about the key on my keyboard that no longer works?
Yeah.
You mean your ooh key?
It's not like the letter O is in a lot of words you type or anything.
Well, if you want to get a hold of Google, the new Google,
Well, this has been a fun one. I think we had some great topics and timely stuff, and we are That Blind Tech Show on Gmail, thatblindtechshow@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. If you have any topics you want us to discuss, let us know, and you can always tweet us in at Blind Tech Show. I'll get it right one of these days. And I guess for now, we are out.
When we share
what we see through each other's eyes,
we can then begin to bridge the gap between
limited expectations and the reality
of blind abilities.
The realities of blind
abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.